Good morning, dear friends. It's indeed a pleasure to be here today to talk in this fellowship course. Thank you, Ashish. It's always a pleasure to be there at your invitation, and thank you, Nikhil, for organizing such fantastic course. I truly apologize for not being there in person. I would have loved to meet each and every one of you and have interacted with you in the person. Without wasting much time, let's start with the presentation. I'm aware that most of the people attending this program are those who intend to do fellowship. And I believe that the arthroplasty fellowships are one of the most coveted fellowships on this part of the world. I am Weber Bagaria. I work as the Director of Orthopedics at the Sir H.N. Reliance Foundation Hospital in India. I also represent CCOT as its national delegate. Now, when we look at the arthroplasty fellowship program, there are few fundamental questions. In fact, that's not just for arthroplasty, but for most of fellowship program. Number one question is, why should it be done? Why should you be entering it? Number two is, who should be doing it? When should it be done? What can be expected? Where can we do it? And how can we or he or she get in a good program? Now, why should it be done? And I always say that it's not necessary for all people to be specialists. There are people who do all these specialties and they do it very well, perhaps even better than doing what a job that specialist would have done. So when you start, we start as a mixture or melange of trauma, spine, sportsman, joint, even to some extent physio, chiropractic. But as time goes on, as we graduate, our skill set changes from novice to experienced and then to eventual mastery. For most people, this would be our career path. If those people who have read the book Outliers would know that ultimately being mastered means doing things, repeating to do the same thing again and again till you get right. I would also like to quote Bruce Lee at this stage, who said, "I don't fear a man who who practices 1,000 kicks, but I fear a man who practices one kick 1,000 times." So if you do something repeatedly, if you continue doing actions and surgeries that you are routinely doing, then you'll be good at it. You'll be able to reach a level of mastery. One of the fellowship mentors that I had always told me, and I still feel that eventually, as you grow, you should taper down to only 5 surgeries in life. For me, I know that it's a knee replacement, total knee replacement, partial knee replacement, tibial condyle fracture, something that I love, the hip replacement surgeries, HTO, and pelvic surgery. So it's 6 for me at this time. But I believe that's a good fundamental goal to reach for those of us who want to become a specialist. Now, who should do it? Okay. Now, when we look at a fellowship program, either as a fellowship mentor, or if people who come to me, they ask me, am I the right candidate for subspecialty fellowship? So there are a few things that you must look. Do you have a basic qualification? For most people, an MS Ortho, DNB Ortho, or D Ortho is something that is required to get into a fellowship program. The number two, and that's very important, is that you should have an interest in a particular subspecialty. If you do not have an interest in your subspecialty, it will be a futile effort you will do. It's not necessary that your interest is maintained all the time, but it is important that if it does not interest you, you change the track very early in your career. For example, I started with a spine fellowship program in US, and I did reasonably well in that program. And in fact, I have a publication for OKO and OKU. So all kind of cadaveric work I did. But I realized early in the course of fellowship, that's not what interests me. I'm much more interested in doing knees, primarily arthroplasty and arthroscopy, and that's what I do currently. The number three thing that you need to have, that at least you should be good in basic trauma and orthopedic skill set. Don't expect to be a brilliant arthroplasty surgeon unless you have a good skill in trauma and doing basic things, because ultimately understanding bones is the key for any orthopedic surgeon. And I think unless you are a good trauma surgeon, you cannot be a good arthroplasty surgeon and definitely not a good revision surgeon. So your skill set as a trauma surgeon is very important, and at least a good hands-on knowledge of basic trauma is expected. So if you have passed your MS and your MS exposure for the trauma was inadequate, it's highly recommended that you do a couple of years in a peripheral setup where you get to do lots of hands-on work on trauma. Now, when you talk about subspecialty, sometimes you may not get that subspecialty exposure during your training days, but it is important that you at least have a good theoretical knowledge. You must have read about it so that the fellowship is of good value to you. Otherwise, your year will pass without getting substantial knowledge. If you want to make most of it, you should have at least a good theoretical knowledge of the field. And also, you should have done some amount of research in that particular field because that demonstrates interest. Not only that, it also kind of opens your mind to the fact that this particular fellowship will be useful to you, and you will be able to start thinking differently. And I think that's important because fellowship is not just a training program. It is something beyond. It is something that you learn for life. And one other thing that I would recommend highly is to study career path of the pioneers in that field. There will be people who you look up to. There are people in Scopy, there are people in Plasties who have done it, and they've done it hard way. There is no simple ways for most of people who have reached the top. So it's not a bad idea to kind of see what they have done, read their career paths. If you get an opportunity to talk to them in person at the conference or someplace, try to talk and understand what were their mindset, what made them choose it, and how did they go about doing things that they do currently. Now, the next question, as I said, there are 5 fundamental questions. So when should it be done? Are you ready to enter the program? And I said, always say this to everyone: there's no age for learning. There is, I mean, anyone even at the age of 70, 80, I think learning should be fun and learning should be done. So there are 2 kind of fellowships program typically, and you must understand when and who should do what program. So I call that the first phase is your formative fellowship phase. This is where your knowledge about that subspecialty is quite limited. It should be typically done 5 years after the orthopedic training. So in Indian scenario, it should be 3-year post MS or DNB and 2-year post degree experience, preferably in a place where you get to do lots of hands-on. The rigorous work, single-minded focus, and is important. So this fellowship is your formative fellowship. So it will be typically 1 or 2 fellowships that you do in that subspecialty. Sometimes you can do up to 3 fellowships in that subspecialty. You should work very hard, very sincere. You should have single-minded focus to learn the most, work the most in that field. Of course, if you have a good choice of good location, it is icing on the cake. So for me, for example, when I did my MS from KEM, I did my first fellowship in US, which is in the spine, but not very interested in that. But then I later on moved to Australia, where actually I worked very hard. I took calls, although it was not mandatory. Used to go in, observe the other surgeons also when they were not doing it. So I dedicated my entire 2 years that I spent in Australia rigorously to learn as much as I could do about arthroplasty. And of course, as I said, I chose different locations. I went to Adelaide, Melbourne, Perth. So all of that made me rich, not as an arthroplastic surgeon, rich not only in money, but rich also in experience. And that is what the fellowship should be all about. The second phase is Rise and Shine Fellowship. When we have got some mastery in our field and you want to kind of cherry pick things, then it is a good idea to do short-term fellowship. For example, at my career, I have applied for fellowship, if you can believe that. So I want to learn a direct anterior approach for the hip. I feel that it may be something that should be there in my armamentarium. So I would like to go for 4 to 6 weeks at some place which are, and to someone who is pioneer in direct anterior approach. I've done, so my basic hip skills are good. I do a lot of robotic knees and other thing, but if there's one arrow in the quiver which is missing is direct anterior approach. So it's not a bad idea to go to those places. And at this stage of our life, it is okay to only go for 4 to 6 weeks because that's enough for us to pick up the right thing. So depending on what stage of life you are, you do this fellowship. And as I said, always look at the other side of it also. Fellowship program should be fun. So you should also think of it as a second honeymoon or just going out and chilling out after hectic work here. What can be expected of these fellowship programs? So different programs will give you different experience. Of course, you will always be surgically assisting your surgeon. What amount of hands-on cutting or work that you get, or what level of independence you will get, will depend a lot on your supervisor, his mindset, and a lot also on you, on how much competency you have demonstrated to your supervisor. It will also depend on the kind of setup you are. If it's a completely private setup, no matter whether you are in India, abroad, the learning will always be supervised. Whereas if you're in a public setup, the learning will be independent to a greater extent. Of course, there will be clinical work in terms of OPDs and managing the patient in wards. Academics, again, depends on different setups, but most fellowship program will have at least some degree of journal club and academic talk. And of course, the most amount of learning actually happens on rounds, on one-to-one interaction with mentor of yours. And I think that's the key thing. It's much more of an apprentice-mentor relationship. So don't think of it as a structured program. Many of it is unstructured, and that's where the key spot is. Of course, you should do a little bit of research when you are there. Aim to get, if you're a 6-month fellowship, 2 papers, and if it's a year-long fellowship, at least 3 to 4 papers that is there. Also, it's a good opportunity to network with your peers. Some people, Ashish was my senior, and I still cherish the fact that I was working with him when I was at KM, and we have a lifelong bond. He sent me cases, I send him cases. If the patient is from that particular area, I ask them to straight away go and meet him. He does the ditto for me here. So I think it is important to cultivate friends and seniors and juniors who you can talk to. I think with all the technology that we have, it's easy to be in touch. At the same time, it is easy to move away from in-person relationships. So I think fellowship, I think it's a very important and undervalued part of your fellowship program, where you create bonds for your life. And of course, with your own mentor, I think lifelong mentorship is important. I'll tell you, my first fellowship in spine was 20 years ago. As I said, it was a spine fellowship. But today also, when the topmost person of the city required any help, I kind of call on to him, and he kind of obliges, and you share difficult cases, you take life advices. And many times you get so close to your mentors that you can talk about your personal lives, on where you should settle down, who you should marry. So I think it is, to get a good mentor is, I think, one of the just like a good wife, a good mentor is something that you can cherish for life. This is just a simple thing that normally, if you, because this is about arthroplasty fellowship, so these are simple things that you can start with. Most fellowship program will have this. This is from the ISHK. They expect you to start from the surgical approach and then do surgeries at the end with complex case scenarios. So during a arthroplasty fellowship, this is a typical thing that you should aim. And with robotics and different surgical techniques, you should be able to kind of manage from very simple to very complex scenarios. They come these fellowship usually have to be 6 months to a year long. And depending on what cases you get, you may get some very complex cases in your initial days and very difficult, very simple cases in your last days. So it's quite luck based, but this is a rough curriculum for an arthroplasty fellowship. Now, where can it be done? That's one of the most important questions, because the targeted approach is the key. So it's different ways to apply for different, but categorically, there are 5 different zones. You can apply in India, you can apply in UK, you can apply in Australia, US, and the rest of the world. So strategy for these, you have to classify all this into your 5 category. India is, of course, we live in India. We've got some great places to work. There are extremely high volume center. There are talented surgeons and great teachers. However, we do suffer from poor communication. You write an email, most of them get unresponded. But don't get bogged down by it. India is accessible, so you can travel to him, meet him in person. Some of them are very busy and may not be able to respond to email. But when you go there, persist, I think more often than not, you succeed. Our fellowship program are inconsistent. 2 different fellows in the same program will give you 2 different stories, but that's all right. It's a bit of luck, but it's also how you perform in that particular program. We do have lack of accreditation. Most fellowship in India are not accredited. But that's changing now with DNB, MUHS, NH giving accreditation to these fellowship programs. Australia, I believe, is the next easiest option. There are no mandatory exam. You do have to give English proficiency test. The key is to write a good email, have research experience, and I think more importantly, to get best out of this, you have to have a surgeon who works both in public and private. So typically, I have done my fellowships in Australia, so I can tell you, in private, you assist the surgeon. Sometimes the surgeon is good enough to actually pay you the assistant fee. And in public, he lets you do things independently. So I think that's a big plus when you do in Australia, and you get lots of hands-on if you have this public and private surgeon. So I think apart from India, the Australia is the next easy option. UK and US are better structured, but they need some kind of qualifying exam. They're usually not very high paying as compared to Australia, and there's an intense competition from all across the world. However, having said that, if you really want to move out of India and want to permanently settle, I think the US, UK, and US fellowships are the way forward. How to do it, how to get into a good program, there are 7 key points. You have to have good communication skill, fulfill mandatory criteria. The age has to be right. So if I need a fellow for 6 months to a year, I don't want someone who is like 40 years, because I know he'll not work that hard. I would want someone who is in the right age. I would look for someone who's got basic knowledge, publication in the field, so that demonstrate interest. Of course, I also want to see where he has worked in past, whether the references are good. And sometimes I am interested in a person, but I don't have time to kind of respond back. So a good follow-up from the candidate is important to kind of ensure that the right candidate meets the right mentor. Once you get into it, it's not over until it's over. So how to make best use of opportunity. Now, mentorship can be a bit of tormentorship. You may feel that your mentors is tormenting you, but I think it's part of learning. There are challenges where you are just asked to observe. It's called as fellowship versus the over the shouldership. It often happens when you start your thing that you get frustrated that you're not getting to do enough, and you are always doing FRCs, which is forever retracting, cutting, cautery, and suturing, and not doing the actual master work. But have patience. Most of good programs, when they realize that your fellows are good enough, would let the knife be passed on. So, but till then, you have to be patient and you have to demonstrate your skill set. Always look at cherry picking, pick up the good things about that fellowship program. Not every fellowship has got all the thoughts, all the things. So pick up good points from that. Make friends for life. As I said, make friends with your senior, junior, and most importantly, have fun. I think unless you have fun, the fellowship is, I believe, a drag. So don't let a fellowship program be a drag. Try to have fun. I thank you once again, all of you, for a kind attention. I'm available at drbagaria@gmail.com in case any one of you want to get in touch. Thanks, Ashish, Nikhil. It's been a pleasure. And I would also invite all of you for this unique conference on techniques and technologies in joint replacement that we have started conducting every year at Sir H. N. Reliance Foundation Hospital. Next year, it is between 23rd to 25th February 2024. Lot of opportunity to network, meet people, and also probably fellowship programs that we'll have under this. So thank you once again, and I look forward to meeting many of you in person. Thanks, Ashish.